Okay, so I have my 12-inch by 12-inch square stretch canvas here, my image already laid out. And if you'd like to trace this out, I do have the image available down in the description box over on Patreon. It's only $3 a month. You get access to all my traceables in all the videos nonstop. So check that out. That also helps to support me. And thank you to all of you who have supported me in that. And for those who haven't yet, what are you waiting for? Check it out and let's do this. So on my palette, I'm gonna have some permanent black, raw umber, burnt umber, some violet, permanent red, cat orange, yellow medium, and always titanium white. So I'm gonna start in the background. I'm gonna have my 3/4 inch angle brush here. That helps to get around everything really precise with those angles or the angles here and this really nice tip on the end and the edge. And I highly recommend this kind of brush for doing backgrounds around detailed images like this one. And so with that, I'm just going to do a basic background. I think I'm going to blur it out because blurry bokeh effect really pops the details out and it says, look at me. You want to stare at this thing some more because all the details are going to contrast with that out of focus effect. And that's just another contrast element that really draws the eye in and it makes the eyes want to look. And it just makes it that much more awesome. So with that, I'm going to take a little bit of raw umber. And let's see, I'm going to go, I think just this dark background for now, just straight up raw umber. I'm not going to mix it. And I'm just going to apply it liberally. Like I said, just go around the image for now and just kind of fill this all in. And I left this open because this is going to be a darker shadow than over here. I'm going to put some light value on here. This is just for shadow to be underneath. And one thing I forgot to do was add phthalo blue to my palette, so no big deal. I'm just adding that. And I'm going to take some of that actually and mix it with some of this raw umber. Essentially that makes a black or a very dark Payne's gray. And it's going to give more of a natural look on the right side of the background here that I'm about to fill in. It just kind of something like that, kind of a bluish sort of hue for a dark color. And again, just going to continue blocking in. And as you can see the difference here on the values. So again, just keeping them separated here. Okay, something like that. I'm going to go ahead and let that dry, and I'm going to come back. I'm going to put some effects, some highlights, and I'm going to do it in a bokeh kind of way. So one sec, and I'll be right back. Okay, and we're back. All dry, all good to go. And what I would like to do now, I'm going to take one of my favorite brushes for bokeh effects, and that is my number 8 natural round bristle brush. As I've said in other videos, of course, as you've been following along and seen my other bokeh videos, I love these brushes because it makes those effects super duper awesome. Very easy to do. And with that, I'm going to go ahead now and take some raw umber. I'm going to take a little bit of yellow medium. All right, something kind of beige-like. Let's see, a little bit more brown. There we go. Kind of something like that. Maybe I'll take a little bit more brown to that. All right. I'm thinking something like this, just like a cream color. Okay, and I want to start going on top of here and just kind of doing this. Nothing to it. I'll even go into the ear a little bit because it's all good. I can still see where that's at, but I want to bring it all the way up to the dog so it doesn't look like something was painted around him or around her. I'm not sure if this is a female or male. I'm guessing it's a female, but I don't know. Could be wrong, but I'm just going to go ahead like this. What I'd like to do is add a little bit more yellow, and I'm going to get some white into this. Okay, a little bit more of that raw umber. Let's see, let's get some more white and raw umber with that yellow in there. Okay, something like this. Looking for something lighter. Okay, just a little bit of paint on the brush. I just wiped most of it off. And again, I just want to hit just some highlight stuff. I'm just going to stick to this side for now. Let's see, I'm going to go now some more raw umber. No yellow this time. I want to go some titanium white because I want a different kind of value now. Okay, just maybe a little bit of this yellow, but not much. Okay, kind of like this. And again, a lot of that paint off the brush. I want a little bit different value. You got to have differences, of course, to give that realistic effect, even in a fuzzy bokeh world here. Again, if I get too much of this and it gets too messy, I can always take and, take some of that raw umber. And actually, I'm going to do that. I'm going to take some raw umber, no cleaning. I'm going to take some of this permanent black now, actually, to it. And I just want to create some dark shadow areas, like wiping a lot of that paint off the brush. Again, very little paint and a dry brush. You don't want any water at all with these or that effect won't happen. Okay, so like right here, I want to go, maybe something right here. Very light pressure with the brush. I can get those fuzzy lines easy with these natural bristles. Doesn't have to be anything special. Okay, so just something in the background. See, I got these little rocks, and I'm gonna go ahead and clean this brush. Okay, I'm gonna take a little yellow and white here with a clean brush and a dry brush. Okay, I wanna go back into this just a little bit to get some of that color in there. But I want some more white this time. I wanna strike some highlight stuff. Okay, like I'm gonna jump over here now, and I'm gonna go with some of that raw umber and blue again. And I'm gonna get some titanium white to that. Okay, a little bit too much blue. I'm gonna go a little bit more raw umber to dull that back. There we go. Okay. And I don't want to go super bright all at once. Like you saw here, it was a little bit darker, and then I got lighter, and then I added more yellow just to kind of build it up. That's the whole thing with acrylics. You want to build this stuff up and not go for broke all at once, or it just kind of gets away from you. You lose the depth, the dimension, you lose all that. So I'm going to take this, and as you can see, it's not super bright, but it's definitely showing up on here. And again, I want to just do the same kind of thing, but with this value. No cleaning. I'm going to take some raw umber now because I want to go a little bit more on the brown side. Let's take a little bit of white. Okay, so it's a little bit more gray now, as you can see there. And down in here. Okay, little value changes. Got to have them. Let's see, I want to go with, let's see, maybe a little bit more titanium white into this bluish color here. Okay, just playing these colors back and forth. And let's strike some highlight, little sneaking highlights in the shadow area. Just here and there, very here and there, not everywhere. Okay, and let's see. I'm going to now go a little bit more white and into this gray, more gray color here. See that? No cleaning necessary. Just going to pick up that other color with more white in it. And I want to hit highlights. Okay, just kind of wherever. Okay, let's see, maybe a little bit of this. See, it's a little bit different than this. I want to add my differences in here. While I have this color on my brush, I'm just going to go ahead for it, and I'm going to take some raw umber and phthalo blue. Let's get more. Let's see, I'm going to get a little black into there just because I had some of that white in there. and I don't want to clean my brush. Just darken it with some black. It's all good. Okay, something like that. And I can still get around these okay with this brush, even though, you know, I don't know, it's kind of detailed. I'm just kind of being lazy here right now. I'm just not switching brushes, but this is a shadow area here, again, where the light changes. Something like that. I'm going to go ahead and clean this brush off now. And I want to move forward now. I'm going to go ahead with the dog. I'm going to set this other brush aside. And I want to go back to my 3/4 angle brush here to get these nice crisp lines and all the details that I'm going to need to really pop off of all this bokeh background stuff. And I'm going to just basically do general values. I'm going to start placing those within my traceable here where they generally go. It's just going to look like a kaleidoscope for now because, as you know, in the acrylic world, it's all about base coat layers first and then, you know, colors on top and details and all that stuff. So I'm going to, let's see, I'm going to grab this orangey color here, and I'm going to get just a little bit of burnt umber into that just to dull that, and now let's warm it from there with a little yellow. So the burnt umber really just gives it, it just makes it more realistic looking. So it's not so cartoony, you know, kind of, you know, orange color there. All right, see something kind of like that. Let's see, maybe a little bit of white just to desaturate that down a bit. Okay. So again, just a base color. I don't really care about final color. And I'm going to start up here. Okay, I'm just going to start applying these general colors. And as you can see, the edge and the tip of this angle brush with those crisp lines is going to really contrast the details of the dog off of this blurry background. And that's what's really going to draw the eye in even that much more, besides all the cool effects of the dog itself. And I really want to make the eye in love with seeing this dog, especially for the person that I'm making this painting for. She lost her dog, and my heart goes out to her and her family, and really wanted to do this as a gift. Her birthday's coming up, and I just really wanted to bless her and her family with this portrait memoir and make it as capturing as I possibly can. And I feel like this bokeh is really going to add to that. So as you can see, just using the brush, the corner, the edge, it does a really good job getting those crisp lines and just filling this in really well this way. Okay, I'm not going to bring this down because there's shadow under here, and that's a different value. Okay, so just getting this general value, as you can see, in certain places, not just going over the whole dog. I'm being very on purpose here. Before I get rid of this value, I just want to grab a little red and a little raw umber without cleaning. And let's see, a little bit more red. I kind of want this reddish kind of hint. Okay, kind of something like this, with that orange still in there. And right here, a little shadow area for his ear. A little lighter than I want. I'm going to add a little bit more of this raw umber to it, or sorry, burnt umber to it. Okay, a little bit more, a little bit darker. So now I'm going to go ahead and get some raw umber and a little black, okay, for a dark value, a darker value. Okay, and we've got a darker shadow here. Let's see, I'm going to now clean this brush. And what I'd like to do now is I'd like to take a little bit of this yellow. It's got just a teeny bit of that orange in there. And here's what I want to do. I want to take some burnt umber to that. Okay, a little bit more. I want to dull this down, and now I want to brighten it with some white. All right, I'm looking for this nice light cream color. Nice beigey cream color here. Getting all tongue-dyed here. Okay, I'm thinking something like this. Again, just base color. Not concerned with final color. And let's apply this. Alrighty, now what I'd like to do is I want to take some of this orange and some raw umber now. And let's see, I want to take a little bit more white. I want some of this yellow. So it's still that kind of beige, but now it's more on the brown side, as you can see here. I want a little bit of orange into that, just a bit. Okay, I'm thinking something like this. Perfect. I like this mixture right here. Okay, getting it all mixed up good so I don't have any pockets of color just coming out. All right, so you can see a nice kind of warm, sort of peachy beige color here, kind of on the brown side. And let's, right here, perfect. This is exactly the color I wanted to see right here. Okay, I'm gonna slap some of that on right here. Okay, if I spill out here, it's all good. Just take the background, I'll knock it back. Feel like it never happened. All right, look, I'm gonna just keep these broken edges up here with this, you know, as I snap it down like this, it kind of starts to create the texture of the fur, you know, on the ear there. So just kind of getting that ready there. Okay, again, not really concerned too much with all the details yet. And let's apply some more of this down here. Okay, creating these little shapes here just to show shadow over some of the folds. I'm gonna go back to this orange, yellow, raw umber mixture here. Okay, go back to that orange, some white, bring that up again. Okay. A little bit more yellow to fire that up a little bit. Okay, there we go, something like that. And I'm gonna add some more of this. Okay, just kind of like this. Okay, you can see a little bit value change from here to here, but again, base color, I don't really care too much. It's not a big deal. It's all about the values on top, playing on top of this. And it'll be what it's gonna be when it's supposed to be. And it's all good. I'm just gonna trust the process and just go with it. I don't want to cover all that up because there's gonna be some more lighter value in there. I want to go back to some burnt umber and a little yellow. Okay, so that kind of beige cream color again. See, like that, a little darker. And let's see, I want to go right in here with that. And again, I'm just kind of whipping this, just kind of doing these lines, getting that texture going. with this darker value, I don't know if it's going to show up yet or not. I'm just going to sort of make these little lines. Okay, just to show the face here, that just the creases in the head a little bit. Okay, and I don't know, just kind of throw some things up there. All good. Okay, now again, so as you can see, just going back and forth, I'm gonna go now with a little raw umber now and some burnt umber together. I want it darker, so you can see next to the values I mix, I can see the difference, so that I know that when I go on my canvas, how much different I want those to be before I put them up there. Even though I can cover them up and play them out while they're on the canvas, I just like to get them ready. Okay, so something like that. I'm gonna go a little darker now, right in here. Okay, no cleaning. I'm gonna go some orange and some red. Okay, maybe a little bit of this yellow in there. There we go, something like that. I like it. See, again, next to this, which is next to this, I can see all the different value changes. And right here. Okay, a little bit more yellow and orange. Okay, some titanium white. Okay, again, for that orangey color, let's get a little more yellow into that to warm that up. There we go. Back to this color again. And let's go again. Let's get that orange block. Okay, now I want to get a little bit more raw and burnt umber now without cleaning. I'm going to go, let's see, I'm thinking something like that. I like that. Okay, a little darker value. I want to get down here now. I'm going to go back to some more orange and yellow. Let's get some more white again. Let's bring this back. And maybe a little bit of red. Just a bit. Something about the red when you get down into like kind of shadow areas, it just kind of lights it up and just really pops it out of there. It gives it this nice look to it, okay? As you can see here. I'm going to go ahead and clean this brush just to get that red off of there. I'm going to go some burnt umber into this yellowish mixture here. Let's get some of that white. Okay. Some more yellow. I'm thinking something like that again, just base coat. Alright, right here. Right here where I left this highlight area open, I want to take some more yellow and some white without cleaning. Okay, a little bit of that yellow, or sorry, that orange in there. Okay. That's a very light kind of peach color here, and right here like this. Okay. And let's see, I want to go a little bit more yellow and white. And watch, I can just add some of this. See that I'm just kind of using the lines or the edge of the angle brush to make these lines here. Okay, making it kind of fur-like sort of things happening. Okay, not too worried about it yet. I'm not there quite yet. Okay, so with this, I'm gonna continue on. with some of this right here. It just kind of shows the texture of the face and all that and how everything's flowing here. Okay, let's go up here with that. Okay, a little bit more of that orange color. Again. Okay, just changing right back again. All good. Okay, no cleaning again. I'm going to take some raw and burnt umber together. Okay, a little bit of this orange in there, but not much. Okay, a little darker, see, like that. And let's go. Again, I'm going to go like this. And back to orange again, back to yellow, back to white. Let's get that happening again for that orangey value. There we go. And okay. Like a kaleidoscope. You like that? Pretty cool, huh? All right, I'm gonna go ahead now. I'm gonna wipe a lot of that paint off the brush. And I want to go back into some of this yellow, some white, more of the burnt umber to that, just to dull that down so I can get back to that creamy yellow here that I want. Something like that. See, no cleaning really. All good. I can just go right back, and I want to fill this in right here. Now, without cleaning, I'm going to take now some more burnt and raw umber together. And I want to take a good amount of white. Well, not a good amount, but you know, more white. Okay, this is different. And I want to fill in the leash here, and I don't want it to, you know, look the same as the rest of the values here. So again, just base coat, keeping values separate and getting general things where they go. Now again, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pick up some red, and let's get some raw and burnt umber together. Let's see, I'm going to go a little bit of that orange in there, a little bit more red. Okay. Something like that. Okay, a little bit darker right in here. And with that same value on my brush, I'm going to push a little harder and then very thin. Okay, just puts a little crease in him right here. Okay, just getting these things in there. And let's see, now what I want to do, I'm going to kind of block in our nose area here, but I want to be kind of precise and careful a little bit. And I'm going to take a little bit of this violet now. Let's get some raw umber. I want to dull that back. And just a little bit of white, and let's get more raw umber. I really want to gray this down into a sort of like a gray, kind kind of darker, kind of lavender color. Okay, I'm thinking kind of something like that. Kind of on the dark side here. And let's block in the nose like so. I want to leave a little gap here. I don't want to bring this value all the way up to my same value here, or I'll lose where the separation is. Okay, to give it that dimension and depth and all that I want to give it. Depth, not death. I hope my words are coming out clear. Let me know in the comments. Again, I want to make this as the best lesson experience I possibly can in the most clear, concise way, where at the end of it you go, man, Mike Ferris is such a good teacher, and I never knew I could paint, and man, he laid it out so well, and it was so clear, and I can't believe I pulled this off. That was so awesome and understandable, and I can't wait to do more. So if I'm not doing that for you, let me know, please, because that's what I want to do. So something kind of like that. And let's see, without cleaning, I don't think I need to clean. I'm going to wipe most of that paint off the brush. And of course, if you live somewhere really dry, definitely clean your brush, because you don't want to dry it out, of course. It'll ruin the brush, and then you won't get that nice flow, and it'll just be like kind of agony city. All right, I'm going to go ahead now with some black, but I want to put a little raw umber because I don't want it pure black, but black, you know, close enough. And I just want to take the tip, that angle tip there, because I'm going to go in here on the nostrils, and I really want to get these in here very detailed. Okay, now without cleaning, kind of left this open here, but I'm going to go back to that violet color that I made. Okay, maybe a little bit more white to that. Not much. Okay, look at it. I can go right back to where I was, even with a little black left on, because most of that black is off the brush. Just getting that in there like so. And let's see, while I'm at it, I might as well just kind of hit it up here a little bit with some of that highlight. Maybe it's a little bit brighter. I put a little bit more white into it. Okay, again, not worried about details really too much. I'm just letting that kind of be. Okay, back to that orangey color here. Okay, and see, what I'd like to do is take a little bit of this yellow, white kind of stuff here. All right, and let's go right like so. Okay, these little shapes that are laid out here in the Traceable. And again, check that Traceable out. $3 a month, like I said, all the traceables to all the videos, and you can follow everything and lay everything out. and get to painting. And of course, if you are into drawing, you love to draw, you can get the angles and everything the first time, or that's your thing, totally do that. I personally, I mean, I can draw, but I don't really care too much for drawing. I like the painting, and I like to lay out the general shapes and all of its perspective beforehand, just that way I'm not spending too much time covering up and fixing mistakes and all that, and I can just get to it and really go for it. So, but that's just me. Everybody's different. This is art. This is a world that is super vast, and you need to do what you want to do and have fun at it. So I'm just getting some raw umber now, just straight up, and right here a little bit of the mouth showing, and I'm just going to block this in right here. Okay, now I have my number 2 nylon flat brush here. I'm going to start going into the eyes here. Let's get that blocked in, and I'm just going to take some permanent black and just a little bit of paint here. And I just want to do the pupil areas for now. And you know what, honestly, I'm going to change brushes because this number 2 nylon flat brush that I'm using, the bristles are not all that intact. So I don't have quite a very good, I don't really have that good of an edge or a tip that I can use in a small area. So I'm actually going to go back to this bigger 3/4 angle brush, and that's fine because I can get the tip and it doesn't bug me to use that because I'm good with it. So again, use the brush that you're comfortable with. Again, this is a journey. We're doing this together and seeing what to do along the way. And I love it. I love the adventure. I'm enjoying the journey here. And I hope you are too. So just a little bit of paint on the tip there on the edge. You can see it's just enough to use this little edge, or this little tip I should say. And yeah, see, just like that, I can get more precise with this thing. And one thing I did want to do is block in some more here. I didn't do that. I'm going to get some of that orange value again. Okay, well, it's still wet, still sitting there, and let's block in. Okay, now without cleaning, I'm going to take some raw umber now. And it's got a little orange in there, which is fine. Kind of what I want here. Let's get right here. Okay, no cleaning. I want to pick up a little bit of this orange. There's some of that burnt umber, or I'm sorry, raw umber into that. Okay, just like so. And I mean, while I have this color, I just want to get in here and just kind of do this. See, again, a little different value of here versus here. Okay, just getting some things blocked in there. And let's see, without cleaning, I want to take some burnt umber now. Okay, we got more brown on this now, and just want to start going in here. Okay, another change on values here as we're blocking in. Okay, no cleaning, and what I'd like to do is take a little raw umber, and I want to take a little phthalo blue, actually, not much, a little titanium white. I want sort of kind of a bluish hue, kind of like this, kind of this gray, Payne's gray kind of look. And not super dark, but a little darker than the other values I've been using. I want to go in here with this. Okay, you can see it's not obviously black, it's darker than these. Totally what I want right here, this nice Payne's gray muted color, right like so. Well, I have that same color on my brush. It's also going to be some of this right here. So with this blue hue in here, I call it reflective light, even in the shadow area here of the eye. That just, you know, it brings out more of the realistic sort of features of his eyes here. And it also, I feel like some of the light, the way it's playing off of the background with that blue hue over here, just kind of, things kind of bounce around and the light kind of hits here and there. And so in shadow areas like in the eye, I'm going to take some more of this permanent black with no cleaning. And I want to kind of go right here, right where this value that I'm going to block in right the rest of this and this Payne's gray color, in between those, I want to go with this black. All right, this is going to bring out some depth and dimension on the eye and really bring out its 3D effect this way. Okay, so with the black still on the brush, I'm going to take some yellow now to that because I want to mix black and yellow together. I want this dulled down yellow color for the eye here. And I'm going to say something like this. Okay, and I'm going to block in right here with this. Okay, and you can see I'm leaving a little bit of open there. I wanted to actually bring this black pupil down into that a little bit more. So before I do that, while I have this color on my brush, I'm going to jump back over here because that's that same value over here. I'm just going to take some black now, go back into that. All right, loading that up. And like I said, I want to extend this pupil down into this area right here where I kind of left that little bit open there. Just that little tiny little speck of white there that I left for canvas. And I want to get up here for some dark shadow. Right, there we go, something like that. And I'd like to take some of this raw umber, little phthalo blue. Let's get some white. I want this really bright kind of muted blue color here. Okay, just getting some more brown to knock that blue back a little bit. It was a little too strong. Okay, and I'm actually going to wipe a lot of that paint off the brush, and I'm just going to get titanium white. And let's see, I'm going to go find a place here where I can kind of work. All right, something like this, a very light blue, just like that, perfect. I want to block in the metal part of the collar like so. Now, and let's see, I want to take some more of this raw umber, and I want to go phthalo blue again. Let's get some black. I want to darken this. Okay, I didn't clean my brush, as you can see, but that's why I'm adding the black, to get that dark back in there. All right, and I'm kind of a lazy painter, but in a sense, that's kind of like being a smart painter, because when you don't have to spend too much time reloading and loading and all that, it saves paint, it saves time, and it just makes for a more efficient time. You can just not have to clean all the time and just go with the different colors and make it happen. All right, so just a little bit of striking kind of side of the leash here, okay, where it's kind of this dark part here. Okay, I don't know, something like that. And while I have this color on my brush, I'm just gonna go right underneath. This is gonna show some shadow. Okay, building some 3D like so. Kind of doing its thing. And then also, let's see. What I'd like to do is grab a little bit more raw umber, maybe a teeny bit of orange, just to give it kind of a hint, I don't know. But this is a shadow color here, and right here. Go ahead right here, there's a little shadow in between the body and the leash right here. This is going to start to build that 3D and that depth and dimension. Okay, always got to have the shadows. Always, always. Light and shadow, super important. Okay, and also let's get some of that in here. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and clean that brush off. And what I'd like to do is mix some of this orange kind of stuff here. All right, something like that, and I want to get right here. And without cleaning, I'm going to take a little bit of raw and burnt umber together. Okay, little shadow area again right here. Okay, something like that. All right, as you can see, getting them all blocked in, and we styling. So moving on here, let's see. We've got our base colors all in pretty much. I left this open because this is, of course, a white spot here that's going to have some reflective color that I'll get to. And I think it's time to just start building more layers and doing more stuff. And of course, the more layers I build, the better it's going to get. And all this messy, painterly, kaleidoscope-like stuff is going to work in my advantage to really pop through the other layers that I'm about to lay down and really work for me and give it that final look and color at the end. So this is super necessary. And this is why I don't care about details and all the final color, because I'm not going to get that with acrylics. Acrylics doesn't work that way. It's too thin, and it takes layers in order to build those effects, and it's just the way it is. And so now that we understand that and know that, we don't have to trip out and expect too much too quick, because that is just premature, and we should really enjoy watching it come to life. This is one of my favorite things right here, is to watch this come to life. Okay, so with that, same brush, that 3/4 angle brush, I'm going to take some red, I'm going to take some orange and some yellow, just kind of all three of these nice firecracker like colors here, or to make a firecracker like color with all three of those. Okay, so it's this reddish orange that's warmed up with yellow. Okay, a nice vibrant look to it. And I want to start placing these things now very more precisely. And so with that, I just want to start kind of following some contours like of the ear, like so. And just kind of do something like this. And as I do it, I want to kind of hash a little bit like this. See, this hashing will give me the impression of these little short hairs, because of course he's a short-haired dog, or she, whichever. The dog is a short-haired dog, I'll just say it like that. Okay, and so I can really get these things to kind of look like the real deal. Okay, and of course, just like it takes layers to build up, it takes layers of detail. And you got to play them in and, you know, really do the things. But again, it's all about enjoying this journey and making it happen. Okay, and now I get that effect. And we start to see some cool things happen. Okay, maybe there's something there. I don't know. Let's see. I'm gonna go with maybe something like right here. See, kind of maybe place some of that in here. I don't know, whatever. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and clean that brush. What I'd like to do now is take some more of this yellow. Okay, and let's take some of this burnt umber to it. Let's get some white. Again, I'm looking for that beige cream color here. Okay, maybe a little bit more yellow to that to warm that. Okay, more white. Looking for that light yellow cream color here. That's perfect. Okay, I think something like this. And I want to place some of these highlights on here, really make this pop out of here. Okay, again, just hashing with the corner of the brush here. Just getting these little detail things built up. And let's see, I'm gonna go now. Here's what I want to do without cleaning. I want to take this orange value and I want to put some yellow, and what I'd like to do is change the value of the orange on top of what I've done to get it more realistic. So let's see, with those other colors in my brush, I'm thinking I'm going to, let's see, let's dull down that orange a little bit more, but let's brighten it up or make it a little bit more vibrant. Something like that. Let's try this. Okay. And I want to go, let's see. Again, I'm kind of hashing. See that? I'm letting some of this orange show through, but a lot of it I'm covering. And let's see. Let's go a little bit more orange and yellow into that. Let's see. There we go. Let's cream this up. Let's warm it up. Let's do something like this, I'm thinking. And okay, something like that. Okay, and I'm gonna kind of follow the contour of the head. See that? It kind of comes in like this with the angles, so that's important. I want to pay attention to that. A little bit of burnt umber now and some orange. I want to get kind of these darker values in here, and I want to go under here and just kind of do something like this. See this? A little darker kind of underneath area here, and again hashing. Okay, something like that. And then all right, now I'm gonna get a little bit more orange. I'm gonna get some white, and I just want to hit just some of these little highlights in here, okay? Okay, something like that, just getting some of those highlights in there like that, see that? Let's go again with some of the more of this orangey, maybe some of this yellow. All right, and just kind of want to kind of do some more stuff like that, okay? What I want to do now is go a little bit of burnt umber to that. Okay, no cleaning again. I want to go a little red into that. Okay, a little darker value there, but not too dark. And what I'd like to do is kind of do these little things here. Okay, just kind of something like little hair stuff, okay? You got to have these little dark kind of crevice areas, just a little bit. And of course I can settle these down if they're too thick or too, you know, too dark or whatever. All good. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and clean this brush, and I want to try out the script liner brush to make these little fur details and things happen in here. So got my little script liner, lots of water on it, very important. And I'm gonna go back into that color. Okay, maybe a little bit more raw umber into that, or sorry, burnt umber. Okay, pulling through as I turn it. As I turn it and pull, it brings it to a nice sharp tip, loads all those bristles really well. And just gonna go in here and hash away, see, like this. I actually want to go into some of this cream yellow color here. Okay, a little bit more yellow. Let's see, more white. Let's get more water on the brush. All right, and I'm thinking something like that, and I want to go now a little bit of orange without cleaning, a little bit of burnt umber to that. Okay, so it's just a little bit darker. Okay, again, pulling through as I turn it to a point. And okay, some things here, just kind of throwing some things around. All right, all good there. And now what I'd like to do again is take some highlight, going back to this. Okay, a little bit more yellow into that. Okay, a nice cream color there. Pulling through as I turn it to a point, and Again, just want to put another layer down. I have a number 6 nylon flat brush. I'm going to go in here and start doing some more kind of shadow stuff and that kind of thing. So what I'd like to do now is I want to take some of this and some of this. Okay, just these kind of orangey browns and some of this peach color here. And I actually want to take just a hint of phthalo blue and some raw umber to that. Okay, a little bit more raw umber to knock that blue down just a bit more. And let's see. Kind of mixing that orange into it. Okay, so it's kind of like this. Kind of has that blue hue in it for the shadow side here. Again, we want shadow and reflective light to kind of be involved here. So I'm going to go on top of this because it's going to really help. Okay, kind of something like that, I'm thinking. And maybe just a little bit over this, just to glaze it. I'm not going to cover it up. Let's see, it kind of settles it in. Okay, just a little bit. Just a little bit. Okay, also over here, I want to go just a little bit of that right here. Okay, just a little. And what I want to do now is I want to take some titanium white and some of this cream color with it. Okay, see that? No cleaning. And I just want to go kind of like this. Okay, just kind of something like that. Kind of give some light play in here a little bit and some hair action. I'm just kind of hashing, see, like this. Okay, even in some of that orange a little bit in there. I don't know, see that? Okay, and with some of that similar color right here. I want to hash again. And I don't want to cover all this up. Okay, I'm going to go back to my 3/4 angle brush after my little excursion here with that script liner and, you know, other brushes and that stuff. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to start doing some more of this hash kind of stuff for a little bit here. I'm going to go ahead and take just a little bit of this orange and yellow. Okay, kind of something like that. There is a little bit of that brown in there. All good. Okay, and I want to go back in here and just kind of add in just some of these things. You see, I can use the corner of the brush and the edge and all that, and I can make these nice little hash marks. In fact, for me personally, I think I like this a little bit better than that script liner, even though the script liner works good too. And with that, I'm going to go ahead now and grab some white. Some more of that orange in there. Okay, and let's see. Just want to get a lighter value in here, and I want to start doing just some kind of highlight stuff just here and there. See, like, let's see, maybe go in here and start adding these in. Okay, no cleaning. I'm going to go over to this blue. Let's see, a little raw umber, a little blue for that color that I made before on the very right, where we're in that shadow area kind of deal there. Okay, this color again. And just want to okay, kind of something like that. Again, over here to hit that highlight. Okay, building up a layer, putting more layers down. It just makes everything more vibrant and more, comes to life more. The color gets more definitive. Everything gets better with each layer. Okay, something like that. And let's see. I'd like to go a little bit of this yellow now and white. Okay, no cleaning. And I'm thinking something like this. All right, a little bit more white, a little bit more yellow. I want to get that nice cream color going again. And let's go right here. Okay, a little bit more white, a little yellow. Get more white. Get a little orange. All right, something like that, I'm thinking. And again. Okay, no cleaning. I'm going to take some raw umber, a little bit of burnt umber, and I kind of want to go okay, something like that. And let's see. I'm going to grab a little bit of this burnt umber now. No cleaning. Kind of want to go a little shadow right underneath the collar. And I want to put a few of these in here. Again, little hair details. Okay, just kind of using my finger to settle those down just a little bit. Okay, and also okay, something like that. I'm going to go ahead and clean this brush off. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and take some white and some yellow. I'm going to go into some of this beige brown here just a little bit. Okay, more yellow, more white. I just wanted to get that burnt umber in there for that cream color yellow again. Okay, more white. Brighten that up a bit more. Okay, and one more time I want to go in here. Okay, something like that. All right, I'm gonna go ahead now. I'm gonna take some burnt umber now without cleaning. Okay, and I'm gonna go okay, something like that. Just throwing some texture on there. All good. Okay, and down here for some more shadow and fold areas in the skin and the fur. Okay, and let's see. I'm just gonna lightly brush this on right here. Okay, a little raw umber. And let's see. I want to go gonna go a little bit of titanium white to that. And right in here, I don't want to cover all this up. Okay, again, this is that mouth area. All right, a little bit of that right in here. Okay, now a little bit more yellow, a little bit more white. I'm gonna take that yellowish cream color here. Again, and again, another layer. Take a little bit of this orange, go into this, maybe a little yellow into that. There we go. Just kind of something like this. Kind of basic orange something. And I want to go over this eye just a little bit here. Okay, to settle that down. Just a little bit of black and raw umber, just a little bit. Okay, and right in here, let's see. So right here I have some yellow showing, and I don't want it showing right there. I want the pupil all the way up right there. There we go. Little things, little things. They make such a big difference. Okay, and also right in here, a little bit of something right there. Okay, I don't know, kind of something like that. Okay, there we go. Now I'm liking that more. Hey, just these little adjustments, you can make them anytime. All good, all good, all good. Okay, same thing over here. always change it. All the time. And now I'm going to switch to my number 6 nylon flat brush again. And what I'd like to do is take a little bit of violet and some red. So essentially when you add red to violet, you get what's called deep violet. And to that, I want to add some burnt umber to that. And I'd like to take some titanium white to that. Okay, a little bit more burnt umber to that. I want to gray that down really, really well. And let's see. A little bit more burnt umber just to dull that even a little bit further. Okay, I'm thinking something like this. And just a little bit of paint on the brush. What I want to do is kind of go with the corner of the brush. Kind of do this number like this. See this? I want some of that dark violet to show through just a little bit. And that creates the texture of the nose this way. Something like that, I'm thinking, yeah. All right, now what I want to do is want to add a little bit of red and raw umber, a little bit of titanium white. Yeah, something like that. Something ablaze. And I want to go right here and kind of strike the edge of this kind of sort of deal here. Okay, just a little something, a little striker there. Not much at all. Okay, that's it. Now, without cleaning, I want to just take, let's see, most of that paint off the brush. And I want to just take titanium white. And let's see, I want to go where I want it the heaviest and the brightest, which would be right up here in the highlight area. Okay, and again, dancing that brush to the corner of it. Creating all these little things here, these textures. And see, as paint runs off the brush, it's not quite as heavy and bright and opaque because it's showing that light's kind of hitting the nose and then kind of running off and then kind of bouncing all over. Just kind of dissipating like this. See, it's not as much as it ricochets off the nose. And then, of course, when I tap, it shows the texture of the nose. It really brings out the realistic look of our doggy's nose here. And this is a cool thing with highlights is when you tap or do certain brush strokes, you create the texture. You tell the eye, hey, this is bumpy, or this is smooth, or this is shiny, or dull, or whatever it is. And you can totally create that very easily just in how you apply the value when you do highlights to give the look that you want it to give or that you want it to have. Okay, so now I'm going to go, let's see, right here I'm going to brush. I'm not going to tap. Right here the nose is smoother in this area. Okay, so just kind of brushing this down a little bit. Actually, I want it to end right here. So a little bit more white, you can see. Kind of take some of this value again, just to kind of brighten it up a little bit. And I want to come back out here and just kind of play this in. And let's see, a little bit more white into that. I want it a little brighter. What I'd like to do again, take some more of this darker color here, and I want to make a distinct shadow between the top of the nose and down here where the shadow's hitting more. Okay, so just kind of tapping that off as I come up here to kind of show it natural light play kind of happening here. Okay, just kind of something like that. And with that same dark value, I want to hit this darker stuff right in here. Again, I just want to go titanium white. Really want to pop out these highlights here for the light play. I want to take some of this yellow and a little bit of burnt umber to it. Okay, kind of something I'm thinking like this. Okay, it's darker, a darker beige color, and I want to apply just some of that in here like this. See, just real subtle stuff. Just so it's not so kaleidoscope, you know, and it shows texture. Gives it that realistic look. And let's get some of that in here too. All right, just here and there, not everywhere. Okay, some more yellow, some more burnt umber to that, just a little bit. Let's get some white. Okay, I'm gonna kick some yellow, just a little bit of yellow. Let's get some white. All right, and again, I don't want to cover all this, but I do want to hit it some strong highlights here. Okay, no cleaning, just a little bit more titanium white. And I want to place some values in here. I want to go with some raw umber and some yellow and orange and some white. A little bit more burnt umber. Sorry, not raw umber, burnt umber. A little bit more yellow to warm that. Okay, so just kind of looking for this kind of warm brown kind of tone. And now what I'd like to do, I want to take a little bit of white, okay, without cleaning. And I want to make kind of this highlight right here that separates this part of the mouth from the rest of it on the bottom here. I'm going to tap in just some of this stuff here. let's see, a little bit more of this burnt umber now. Okay, no cleaning. I'm just gonna go a little bit of this white. And let's see, I'm gonna go just kind of something like this, okay? Just kind of fading those off right there a little bit. Okay, a little bit of burnt umber. Let's get that in there. And let's get some of this other yellowish kind of color in there just a little bit. And there's our little separator here. Okay, I want to start doing these little separators now that I got all this color up here. As I put more layers down, I want to start adding shadows and highlights. And let's see, I want to start doing, okay, these little things here. And one thing I'd like to do, since I have all these nice layers on here now, I want to go back to my script liner brush actually, and I want to take lots of water again. And I want to go into some of that white and yellow cream color mixture here. Okay, more water on my brush. More white. I want really bright highlights here. I want to make some detailed furs. That's really, I think, going to set this off. And just vary here and there, not everywhere. Now I'm going to go back to my number 6 nylon flat brush again real quick. And I'm just going to take some black and a little bit of burnt umber to that, or raw umber. Sorry. Let's fill in the little talons here. And no cleaning. Just going to take some titanium white. And I'm going to strike. Let's see, I want to go a little bit of titanium white. And I'm going to strike some highlight right here. Kind of highlight on this just a little bit. Just a little bit of this violet and burnt umber and titanium white. Okay, a little bit more violet, there we go. And I want to kind of go like this. Okay, I'm going to start building some shine and glow. Okay, I'm going to go on top of this just a little bit. Okay, see that? Just a teeny bit. And now, without cleaning, I want to take a little phthalo blue. little raw umber and some titanium white. Let's get a little bit more blue into that. Okay, something kind of like this. And I want to kind of go, let's see. And let's see, I want to put just a little bit of that right in here. Okay, something like that. Look at that. We got a shine happening here, folks. All right, I'm going to now take a little titanium white with just some of that orangey kind of stuff on it there. Okay, not much, just a little bit. And kind of want to do that. And now with most of that paint off the brush, well, I'll tell you what, I want to go into raw umber and phthalo blue just a little bit and titanium white. There we go. Perfect, perfect. And let's see, a little bit more white into that. Now, I want barely any paint on the brush. Just barely, because watch, what I want to do is I just want to, with the very edge of the brush, just kind of glaze over this, just like that. See that? I want to do the same thing over here. Just barely pet the canvas. Okay, something like that. And I'm gonna get just a little bit more titanium white. And I just want to go on just some of this right here. See that? Okay, and just titanium white again. Pure titanium white. And let's see, I'm gonna go a little dot speck right there. Okay, see that? Ain't that nice? And now we got our nice little shimmering eye here. A little something happening. Ain't that cool? Okay, I'll do the same thing over here. There we go. Now we've got some realistic eyes coming back at us. And with the rest of that white on the brush, I just want to go in here and kind of play with the color here. Some highlights, just kind of here and there. Okay, maybe there's some there. And let's see, there's some there. Some there, I don't know. Okay, I'm liking that. I'll go ahead and clean this brush off now. Okay. Now what I'd like to do is just take a little bit of raw umber, maybe a little burnt umber, and right in here, I want to make, and along this actually too, I want to make some texture here. Okay, little texture things here and there. Okay, for the leash there, I'm gonna go ahead and clean that brush off. And now what I'd like to do is take a little bit of titanium white and some of this yellow maybe, and raw umber or burnt umber, whichever. Okay. And want to go in here and kind of play this in here too. Okay, back to my script liner brush here. Okay, lots of water. I'm going to go ahead with a few more of these details here. Some hair details, you know, stuff like that. That cream color with the burnt umber and yellow and mostly white. I'm going to pull through as I turn it. Bring it up to that nice sharp tip. I'm going to go ahead and just kind of do this. Then I like to do, go back to my number 6 nylon flat brush again. I'm going to take some titanium white. I'm going to go back into this kind of bluish mixture here. And I'm going to go on here. Okay, kind of cover up some of these things that I did. Okay, kind of something like this. And without cleaning, I'm just going to take some orange and yellow and some white. Okay, just kind of somewhat of this kind of light orangey color here. And I'm going to do this. Now what I'd like to do is take my script liner brush, and I want to take some titanium white. And right here, just want to do, a couple little whisker things. I'm going to take my script liner brush one more time. I'm going to go some titanium white, lots of water, of course, and I'm going to pull straight through to a point. And right here, I'm going to go ahead and sign. And once again, I want to thank you so much for following along and for checking me out. If you haven't subscribed, please do so. That really helps me to keep making videos. I know that I didn't make any for a little while. Those were some personal reasons, just besides being really busy. And I'm back at it. And I appreciate all of you so very much. And I'm sorry for the delay. And thank you again. And as you can see, it's really all about the layers. It's building them up. It's not really too concerned with details all at once, but it just gets better each time. And I could totally sit here and build up more layers, and it just becomes more realistic and more everything. But time is of the essence, and there's other things that I got to do. But I hope this helped and that you guys were able to pull this off and follow along, and most of all, enjoy the journey of painting along together. And again, let me hear your questions and thoughts, and anything that you have to say, I'd love to hear from you. And with that said, I want to wish you well and happy painting to you.